Throughout my career, I've had people encouraging me along the way, helping me to get things done. Whether it's from my parents, whether it's from different coaches, teachers at school. I think it was very beneficial that I had two older brothers. I always wanted to be as good as they were.
Oh, what a finish!
My father always treated me like a professional footballer. Even when he would talk to me, he said, I'm going to cut your steak tonight because you need to be strong for when you're a professional footballer. Those little subliminal messages, hence I thought I was a footballer probably before my time. My dad said right from the start that I was always going to be a centre forward. He said I just basically loitered around the goal.
What a pass! Michael Owen wins it!
I think if I had to name one player that's assisted me throughout my career, most of all, it would have to be Steven Gerrard.
Gerrard, here's Michael Owen.
From the age of 11, we were in the same Liverpool team together. Invariably, he would be the one doing the assists and I'd be the one finishing it off.
Gerrard, that's a brilliant ball! That's dazzling!
ABSA, the official African banking partner of the Premier League, is giving you the assist so you can get things done.
Hello and welcome, guys. This is Radull Live. Thanks for joining us. Got a special show today with the Power Ladies. Yes, before I get into the show, guys, remember I do have Betika kit and a football to give away. And during the show, I will ask you a question about Betika. Yes, if you get the question right, actually give us the answer, followed by the name of a team you want to nominate to get this kit. And at the end of the show, I will have about 3 correct responses and nominations. And I will ask the ladies to help me choose who to give this kit to. Just one kit to give away. So stand by. I'll give that question in about 20 minutes time. I also have Safaricom airtime. I'm in a good mood today. By the way, I have 1,000 bob and I have 500 bob to give away. I'll give that out in the comment section throughout the show. Just a few shout outs before we start. To Deco Kazola, Nyeri, we are locked. Edgar Majale is locked in. Ronald Omoke is there. Raima Jaka says present. Xavier Gital Masharia inside the Min Blessing all the way from Abu Dhabi. She is locked in. Guys, allow me to introduce these power ladies. I'm so humbled. You're not a guest. You're a guest. Let me start with the guest. The guest today is the former CEO of Kenya Rugby Union and head coach, Equity
Bank Hawks, the ladies team.
Equity Hawks ladies basketball. Yes. Sylvia Kamau. Good to see you, Sylvia.
Good to see you, Carol.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Also a career lawyer.
No, actually a career...
yeah.
I did business management.
Business management.
Yes.
I think I wrote
I'm
lawyer
actually
somewhere.
a career auditor. Other than sports, yes.
Yeah, but you talk like a lawyer, trust me. And then the reason I say Cynthia is not a guest is because you're my first repeat guest on Radull Live. Yeah. You were on my second show talking about marketing. This time we're talking about you. Cynthia Mumbo, CEO of Sports Connect Africa. Yeah. Let me get into it. Let me start with Sylvia. Sylvia, okay, you're in basketball now. I met you a couple of years ago when you were in rugby. Give us a very quick career background because clearly you're a sports person.
Thank you for inviting me to the show. Yes, I'm a sports person. I do all sorts of sports. And I can say my background in sports is from basketball. I am a basketballer. I played basketball all the way to the national team. And I've also coached basketball to the highest level. I've also coached it to the national team.
Damn.
And then I joined Strathmore. And I became the sports director at Strathmore. That is what now exposed me to all the sports. So I've been in administration in most of the sports, but the most active sports for me have been basketball and rugby. Yeah.
In fact, I was going to ask, because I know you from rugby. So when you told me you've gone to coach basketball, I'm like, how? I thought rugby was your background. But then how did you switch? How did you decide to focus? Because it's one thing to know about many sports. How do you decide I'm focusing now on rugby?
Actually, I love sports. All sports. I can actually play most of them. I'm very comfortable in the field. But for rugby, I started my career in rugby as a director. When I vied for directorship for Harmond. 2 years before I got it, then I got into as a director into Kenya Rugby Union as a director, and then now moved to the Kenya Rugby CEO position when Ron Bukusi left the organization.
We'll talk more to you. I want to bring in the lovely Cynthia Mumbo. Hey, Cynthia. Hey, tumetoka mbali. Sana. Ever give me your background, because me, I know you. Let me tell you where I met you. When I was at Supersport, and you were handling basketball when Supersport decided they're doing basketball live.
Right.
Yeah. Give me your career background.
Well, so I'm a career marketer. Thank you for having me, Carol, and hello, everybody. I'm a career marketer, and I've studied sports and sports business. So my background as well is basketball. I used to sprint. I was pretty fast.
I've got long legs, yes.
I remember when I went to join their team, I ran so fast, everyone was like, who's that? So I played basketball several years, and then I was co-opted into the federation. So when you met me, I was co-opted into Kenya Basketball Federation, the executive committee, to support with basketball marketing. And that's how we got Supersport on board. Fantastic experience. I have also worked corporate several years. So I've worked for Samir Africa, Yana. I've worked for EAPL. I worked for Menengai Oil. I had a very short stint at Chandaria. And then I set up my company, Sports Connect Africa.
And you had a stint at our friends Betika?
A stint at Betika as well.
A stint, which means you've actually done marketing, which means you can actually talk to us from the other side.
Yeah,
you see, as sports people, we always say, why do these corporates not sponsor us? You can speak from the side of the corporate. When, as a corporate, you're choosing to sponsor a side, what do you look for?
In fact, it was very deliberate for me to move into, the whole corporate conversation, because it kept bothering me. Why aren't we being paid? I'm an athlete, I'm pretty good. Why am I not being paid at home? Why do I have to think of going to Europe? But whenever I watch European basketball or football or whatever, or American for that matter, you're seeing brands there, you're seeing, players, you're seeing players being treated well. There's this whole conversation, and it's very simple. It's a marketing conversation, it's a product conversation. So as a brand, I want to understand, what value are you giving me? I'm not in the business of helping. I'm in the business of selling my product.
Selling whatever my product is.
I'm in the business of selling. But if your values align with my values, and if your game, if your entertainment value, whatever it is that you're providing, connects with my brand, then, and there's many people consuming you, then if it's cheaper for me to be working with you as a sport, then I'm going to put my money behind your sport than put it on advertising, say. And sometimes it's not even a matter of just being cheap. It's really a matter of the engagement. It's a matter of the connection. It's a matter of how much value can I get from being associated with you as a sport vis-a-vis what it would cost me in any other platform. So that's what brands think about. And we've unfortunately been unable to understand that. There's a consistency conversation to that. You can't just wake up today and say, oh, we want brand X to work with us. Brand X will say, yeah, you had one event that was good, but how consistent is that? How much value can we be able to give you, and how much can we be able to get in return?
Get back. Sylvia, I want to bring you in because when I met you, you were CEO of Kenya Rugby Union. Yes. First of all, good job dealing with all those men.
There are some women there. There were pretty strong women in there.
Yeah. You were like a lone ranger at some point, though.
Yeah.
But I know as Kenya Rugby and as every sport in this country, there is the challenge of getting that corporate sponsorship. What were some of your biggest challenges when you were managing rugby in trying to get money on board?
I think what she's just mentioned the main thing that is a problem. First and foremost, us as sportsmen, or as sports administrators, people in the sport, we excel. When you tell us to go to the field and run, we can run as fast. When you tell us carry this ball to that place and try, we will do that. But we have excellent brands as sportsmen. Brands do not, as sportsmen, we need to, in sports rather, the environment in sports, we need to position our sporting brand with other brands. We need to match values. So like she's saying, for example, if I want to get a soft drink, for example, on the shirt, I need to understand that the people who are going to consume that, whatever, the soft drink, are not necessarily sports people. So they might not really align with, or they might not identify, for example, just to use Kenya Sevens, for example, they might not identify with Kenya Sevens, but they will take the soft drink. So for the sports people and sports administrators and sports marketers, we need to, and especially in the country, and a bit to speak in Africa, we need to know how to position our brands in a place where a corporate can actually, step on it. Because for, like she's saying, we're not in the business of handouts. When you go to a corporate and tell them, sponsor us, just give us whatever you have, these days they end up giving you t-shirts. You don't need t-shirts. You need to feed the players. You need to buy equipment.
You need money.
You need money. So they need to see, you need to leverage on their marketing budget and tell them, this is what I'm going to do for you, as opposed to, for example, if they have $1 million shillings to do print media, you have to show them that this is what my team will do for you in marketing, as opposed to you doing putting this on the newspapers.
Are our clubs, or our rugby clubs, or our basketball clubs doing that? Because for me, the challenge in this whole country, and I always come back to us fans, because as fans, we are the consumer that the corporates are looking for. Am I taking myself to Kenya Rugby Union or to Impala or to Mwamba? Mwamba no longer have a home ground.
It was taken.
Have you seen the banter all around?
Their home ground was taken by the government, I think, to build the roads.
Yeah.
But
that tells you what we see as this country, where sports is positioned also.
But do we have the consumers watching us? For example, if you say Kenya Sevens has a soda here, unless they're on the international scene or it's Safari Sevens, are Kenyans actually watching, or the consumers actually watching? And from the inside looking out as a rugby club, what are you doing to tell those consumers, you know what, I need you so that I can get money from a corporate?
Let me go first before Cynthia. I see Cynthia is burning. She's a marketer here. But again, from the sporting angle, we do have fans. Like you said, you mentioned the clubs. We start with you fans, or rather me as a fan. Do I buy the merchandise for the club? Do I? Like, for example, when we put the Kenya Sevens shirt out there, or we put the Equity shirt or whatever shirt we're putting there, do fans actually go and buy that shirt? Half the fans don't. What do? They go to River Road and tengeza something that looks like what the original
China.
The China thing, you know. And since, because it is it's a fake thing, we do not get
you don't benefit.
We do not benefit. The brand itself doesn't benefit. You see, so fans also have an obligation. The other thing is, do we go to the fields to watch these games? When I sit and I'm talking to a corporate and they're asking me, what's your following? What are your numbers on Twitter, on whatever? What are your numbers? Are the clubs and the different clubs and the different national teams able to give those numbers? Are they real? They can't give you numbers. Are they real? How many clubs go to, how many fans? Okay, this year might be very difficult. Last year and this year will be difficult. But before that, how many people actually go to the field to watch the games? And you see, when I come with my product, the soft drink I was talking about, I need numbers. If I want to make my sales, I need numbers. If I want visibility, I need numbers. You know, so are we as fans, okay, I was tackling the fans angle. Are we as fans going to the fields? And then again, as a sport, are we giving something to the fans to
when they come to the
yes,
game?
are they getting value? Sports is entertainment. So before COVID, we knew like Saturday night would be buzzing literally out there. Guys are going where, hiking, what, this plot, that plot, that plot. Sports is competing with that. Are we able to compete and get people out of the bars? EPL does a good job in Kenya. When you go to the bar and it's time for
everywhere.
Man U to play, the game is on.
Like
so
tonight.
it is actually getting the people to the bars. So if I'm owning a bar, I will have a sports bar that shows all these games. There are times we've gone out and rugby is being played at whatever time, 3 a.m., 1 a.m., and you're able to tell them to put it. It's international, but locally, come back to us locally in the country. Are we able to present our product, which is our game? We go back to our sport, which is basketball. Who watches basketball? Who watches basketball? Have we positioned the sport to be watched? You know.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, and I want to move away from marketing because we're spending so much time on marketing and I have so much to talk about.
I just have to finish that.
Yes.
One of the reasons why sport isn't going the direction it needs to go is because the clubs, the leagues, and all of that, we lack capacity and capability. We don't have the right people who are able to speak and deliver on this conversation that we're having. So I can go to Impala or Mwamba or Equity Bank or, how are those teams run? Are they run professionally? No. So it's very impossible as we sit today for them to have those thoughts and say, we want to talk to our fans. Because, well, they're amateur, They're amateur in the way they're run. So before we even get to a point where we're positioning, do we have people who understand the positioning conversation within the teams that are running them?
It's good you took the conversation in that direction because 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting here on Instagram and I'm like, Cynthia Mumbo is running for chairman of Kenya Basketball Federation. And I'm like, okay, this is something she would have told me a few weeks ago. Then I find out it is a decision you made a week to the elections.
Yes.
Give me that backstory. And why did you feel it was important to front yourself?
Why not? That's the question I asked myself. I mean, I was challenged by Coach Ronnie. And I can say it very confidently. He said, Cynthia, initially the conversation was that I was going to go for Secretary General. And I had actually pushed that out. I had said to myself, I'm not doing anything with the basketball. We're not where we want to be. And he called me and he said, Cynthia, you know what? If you genuinely are for this game, go for the top seat. I said, okay.
Why not?
Let me go for the top seat. And in 1 week, we did quite a bit of pushing. I mean, as soon as my flyer came out, I think every media house, everyone was just like, Cynthia, how did you decide to do this? We want to hear this story.
Yeah, just went repost.
We want to hear this story. One, I've been in basketball long. I understand the game. I love the game. I mean, I've been privileged enough to experience so much from this game, whether it's being team manager at the All Africa Games. And I was pretty young at that time. I was like 26. I was managing my age mate. That's a story in itself. Having super sport and understanding the broadcast conversation. Managing junior NBA. Our company managed junior NBA in Kenya for 2 seasons. And having the experience of going for an NBA game and seeing what that is like.
Oh, I went for one in Dallas. What? What? The experience.
The experience is unbelievable. The investment behind that experience. And you can imagine they do that for 20 clubs across the US every single night. And what we're saying is, we don't have to be that big, but how can we package ourselves? It bothered me. And I said, you know what? I don't want the election to be over and guys come back and say, Cynthia, don't tell us what should have been done. Why didn't you go for that position? Why didn't you stand? And the other thing was, I needed people to see that it's up to us. If you want change, you can't go and say, that guy's not doing this, that guy's not doing that, this guy's not doing this. What are you doing? And I said, okay, here I am. If you give me the mandate, this is what I'm going to do. I had my 4 pillars. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And like I say always, sports is we don't turn over overnight. It's
a process.
Yeah, it's a process. But I can tell you, I went against men, and it was an experience. But it's something that I'd really challenge other women. And I have extreme respect for Sylvia because she's one of my mentors. She's helped me get to where I am. She reached out to me and said, Cynthia.
She's your muscle.
This one. You see her looking nice and soft like this. She's a tough one.
I know her.
But she encouraged me, and so many women encouraged me. And we always hear this story around, women don't support each other. The support that I got from women because I chose to stand, to this day, guys call me and they say, and girls, they call me and they say, Cynthia, what you did has elevated us women and we support you. So,
and you did pretty well.
Oh, I didn't do badly.
Well.
In fact, I started at -9. Let me just say today, I not told anyone. The executive office, every single office position had a vote for the president. I didn't have anything, so I started at -9. So we finished 57-45. They beat me by 3 votes. If we were to calculate it, yes, technically it was 3 votes only.
And that was in 1 week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now imagine with the groundwork and strategy. And I was having a conversation with you the other day, Sylvia, and you were saying You're so tired of us women and we.
Yeah.
What's that?
What's that
It's
about?
the same thing she's saying, and it goes to all sports people. You know, why do we want to sit back and say, okay, Coca-Cola is a big brand. Why can't Coke give money to sports?
It's not
You
their
might,
business.
I mean, and that's the same thing ladies do. We sit back and we are always thinking, Saidia wanawake, you know, we have the women, this is the women's team. When we're looking for money for the women's teams, all across border, we are almost begging. We are almost, I know there was a what was it, a girl child thing, promotion kind of with the government, that the girl child is,
Affirmative action.
yes, but I feel that in sports especially, the female product is better than the male's product.
Yes.
Yeah,
Almost
we
across the board.
we appeal to very many
Basketball,
products
volleyball, football,
Football.
because if
rugby.
you look
The
at
women's
it,
team
like
were the
for
first to
example
qualify
now,
for Tokyo Olympics.
yes, go back and look at it from the home environment. If my sons want to play a sport, half the time it's me who's going to take them to the field. If
Yeah.
I don't take them to the field, they're not going to play that sport.
Yeah.
If between the ages of 10 to about 15, 16 years of age, when kids are going into sport, it's the mothers. So if I have a brand, I want to align myself with sports because mothers are going to be at the field.
Right.
You know, other than the regular soccer in the estates where the boys take themselves. But the women in ourselves, we don't realize that we have a much better brand. Okay, the other thing is about corporates. The corporates also a bit frown on the brands. But again, it's because they do not know how to position themselves. But women have a much stronger brand if you ask me in terms of sports. Like you said, most of the teams going to the Olympics is women.
The women qualified
Somehow
long
we
time
just
ago.
do well. I mean, the first team for Kenya to qualify to the Olympics was the Lionesses, the rugby team. I mean, yeah, so why do we feel inferior?
And we have learned by now, get up and get it.
Yes.
Ladies, get up and challenge for these
Don't
positions.
ask
even
for
if you look at it
permission.
If you look at it in terms of sport, the boys, who asks the boys to go and play? Nobody. The boys just wake up and they're like, Mom, I want to go and play soccer, and they go. The girls just think, oh no, I should be pretty, should be sitting in the house, looking calm. No. So even the boys have not been given an extra step in terms of sport, in terms of joining sport. It's just that as ladies, we feel that probably we should not be in sport. So we should, the few ladies that we are in sport, if you look at all the women who play sport and play it and are active in it, are very passionate about it. Because once you're in there, you realize it's not as big as it looked. It's something that you can manage.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But do you think parents also play an unfortunate role? Because you're both parents, you wake up, your son wakes up and wants to play sport, you're all behind him. Your daughter wakes up and decides, you know what, Mom, I want to be a professional footballer. You know, by nature, the parent will hesitate a little bit.
I love my mother and I hope she's listening, but she knows I share this story all the time, my mom and my dad. My mom used to take my kid and keep it, in English, hide it, because she couldn't understand
Couldn't fathom
why.
that you want to play
Why,
basketball.
what is it about this sports thing? She's not my number one fan now. I can tell you, she's my number one supporter. My dad's my number one supporter. And one time she told me, I wish I understood what really this passion was. I'd have supported you from, a long time ago. I keep telling her, we have to share this story so that other parents understand. But to be very clear, yes, it's a cultural issue. It's not just parents as parents. Culturally, even the way we call sports in Swahili is michezo. It's michezo. Mnaenda kucheza. It's just games.
Play.
Yeah, you're going to play. So culturally, we are very attuned to sports being a pastime, that thing. So your parents can understand, and it's across Africa. Your parents can understand. You are going to play. What about your education? I'll tell you what. We run Vikapu Elite Basketball Academy. We had kids 2019. We had kids. The parents were like, "No, we don't want the kids to play. They have." We told them, guys, we're asking you, allow the kids to play basketball. We have a life skills segment, so we will manage them around life skills. We had 6 A's and I think 2 B's of kids who played basketball in the program, and the parents said, "So when are you starting this basketball again after the whole, when the kids were over?" Because initially the thought was the kids can't concentrate, they can't do this. And we're like, when you allow the kid to play, they will reward themselves and they will reward you. And we are very particular about that, especially at the life skill conversations that we have with the kids. So for me, yes, it's a cultural issue. It's harder being a girl because, I mean, you have to jump 17 hurdles before you get to where the guy is jumping his first. But I've always said, those are hurdles anyway, just jump them. Jump them, put yourself out there. Things will be thrown at you, stuff will be said, this will come, that will go. But if you know where you're going and if you know what you want and your vision is clear, really honestly, it shouldn't matter.
I think with TV broadcast and all the attention has also helped parents understand that for both men and women, that sport generally is not just for fun. I mean, you look at some of the earnings that happen abroad. When it comes to women's football, you look at the United States. When it comes to women's volleyball, our own Malkia strikers, you know. So it's getting, I think, easier and easier for parents to say, you know what, my child can actually make a career in sport if we get the back room right.
Yes.
We get the back room.
And the career you're speaking about is when now we actively play sport. You're in sport. You're doing sports journalism. Why should a parent tell their child, don't join sports?
You don't have to be
you
in
don't
sport
have to be on the field.
to be in sport.
You know, to be in sports. We have sports lawyers. You know, there are all sorts of careers that are associated to with sport. So we need to sports is just sports, you know. The playing part of it is important. I know some great people in the sporting world who have never really played any sport actively.
Including Mourinho.
But they have done well in it.
I'll actually give another story where this Wambora, the governor, he's my ex-husband's cousin, and his daughter, Mukami Wambora, wanted to become a sports journalist. And he called me to Embu once and told me, you know what, I want you to sit down and tell my daughter how hard it is. How she needs to, because she's a trained lawyer. Mukami is a trained lawyer, but her dream has always been to be a football journalist. And at the time, she was doing Sunday mornings on Capital FM, and she was not even getting paid for it. And he said, "Tell my daughter it's hard. Tell her she needs to be a lawyer. Tell her." And I was like, "You know what, Mukami? If you work really hard, you could be very successful as a sports journalist." And he's like, "This is not what I called you to say."
But you can't call someone who's so successful as a sports journalist.
She stayed with it. She stayed with it. I told her, "Mukami, if you want to be a football journalist, stay with it." And she stayed with it. She came to Bamba Sport. She went to Citizen TV. And look at her now, you know. But her dad, who, yesterday was elected, I think, Council of Governors, Ombora did not want his daughter to focus as a sports journalist. But eventually he came around and he's like, actually, she's hired by a credible media house.
And she's doing pretty well.
She's earning her pay. She's covering her costs. And so unfortunately, you still have to convince your parents that this can be a career, and we need more voices. We need more female voices. Let me read some of these comments so people will feel abandoned. By the way, I sent 500 bob airtime. I hope somebody got it. I'll send 1,000 bob in about another 20 minutes time. Let me see. Dorcas Amakobe says, "Hi, Carol. Glad you're hosting Power Ladies. I can't wait for an all-women's sports show." They're there, by the way. Ziave Gitao, now that we have two basketballers, let's know who between them is a Lakers fan and how much do they admire LeBron? Anyone wants to answer that?
I'm a Celtic fan through and through. I'm sorry.
I am.
I'm Dallas Mavs only because I watch them. and I got a VIP ticket from, what's his name? The guy with the Kenyan wife.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk. Yeah, I got a VIP ticket. Ooh. I looked at it and I was like, $335. I'm sitting in the third row for an NBA game.
Yes.
Okay.
That's 30,000.
Let me see. Walt Senior. Oh yeah, another Saturday. Yet another chance to win. I'm giving you the Betika question just now. Eric Ogato says, I'm from Mombasa. I'm getting you loud and clear. I'm enjoying the show. Kevin Oswere, say hi to Cynthia Mumbo.
From Kisumu, Kevin.
Orure, oh, you know him. Yes. Orure Wycliffe says, pass my greetings to Sly and Cynthia. Sly. Sly was my sports administrator at Strathmore.
Who's that?
He's called Orure Wycliffe.
Wycliffe, he plays hockey.
Oh, he plays hockey.
And he was on a scholarship at Strathmore. So sport actually is rewarding, a full scholarship.
He says, these two are great women. I salute them. To Cynthia, congrats on vying for the position of basketball presidency. And you know, you mentioned hockey, and I was interviewing, I think, the hockey coach the other day, and she said she started, I think, in rugby, and I was interviewing the rugby
the captain
TM the other day, and she said she started in football.
Yeah.
So sports is sports.
So, I started as a sprinter, so we find our way in between the sports.
Hilda Chepto says, in sports, professionalism is key. Yes. Hilda is actually a sports journalist as well. Right. You know her. Yeah. Actually, your friend Oswere says, yes, marketing. Dero FC from Rarieda, Siaya County. Those are my relatives. I think I need to ask you the Betika question, then we go into a break, then we come back and continue with this conversation. The Betika question today that can win you kit is how much do you stake and how much do you stand to win on Betika's Sababisha Daily Jackpot? How much do you stake and how much do you stand to win on Betika's Sababisha Daily Jackpot? Give your answer, nominate your Mashinani team that you want to receive the kit. Also tell us where you are, because I've been doing this is the 4th week I'm doing this. Not in a bad way, but I've given 2 teams from Machakos already. So, sorry Machakos, you're not winning again today. But nobody ever puts their location so I don't even know. So put your location so I spread my wings. Yeah. The other team that won the first week was Soccer Sisters from Dagoretti here. So how much do you stake and how much do you stand to win on Betika's Sababisha Daily Jackpot? Give your answer, nominate your team, tell your location, and at the end of the show, we'll choose one team to give that prize. And I'll give more Safaricom airtime in a bit. But we're going to take a short break so that I can, I need my G. And then we continue with this conversation. See you in a bit.
I have scored many great goals in my career. I have also achieved an incredible amount of personal goals. And for both my professional and personal goals, there have been great assists. When I went to Chelsea, the one person that assisted me the most was Jose Mourinho. He brought me to the club. He signed me in training. He was always there talking to me, putting his arms around me, basically letting me know where I am right now, that this is Chelsea, this is where, you know, the big boys play.
Curls onto it.
Everything I did then, all throughout my career, I could hear Mourinho's voice in my head. Well, my relationship with the African players in the team was really good. It was fantastic. I think when I came in, obviously Drogba was there. He looked after me, gave me lots of advice.
Drogba. Oh, sensational!
Drogba really kind of helps me get things done.
Mikel.
Being a defensive player, for me, my job is to make sure that the team plays really well. Looking back at the game and seeing that every part of your job you did really well, and even if you don't assist someone scoring a goal, for me that's an assist. That's the African asset for me.
Welcome back. This is Radull Live. I've just had to wet my throat As women, we can talk, but we can also act. We can also act. Yes, guys, thanks for staying with us. I'm here with Cynthia Mumbo, the CEO of Sports Connect Africa, and Sylvia Sly Kamau, former CEO of Kenya Rugby Union, head coach of Equity Hawks basketball team. They're in the Premier League. They're in the what do you call it?
Classic
Division.
League. It's called
Classic
the,
League.
yes,
Basketball Classic League.
Classic League, and they are headed to Cairo in 2 weeks' time
Yeah.
for the club championship.
Oh.
So yeah, we'll be out. The two representing teams from Kenya will be KPA the ladies, and Equity the ladies team, the Equity Hawks.
They won the league. How do they qualify?
Yes, top two in the country. So Equity Banks is the defending champions. We didn't have a league last year. So the system is you win the league in your country, you go to the zone 5. Basketball is divided into zones in Africa. So our zone, Kenya, is zone 5. You have to win zone 5 for you to qualify for Africa. But this time, because of COVID, they've skipped off the zone 5 because there was no time to do it. And now we're going straight to the club championship. It's not a new place for the Equity basketball team to be in. It's not a new place for me to be in as a coach. I've been there before, so
But you don't say?
We're not asking for permission.
We are not asking for permission.
She belongs.
So the championship is in Cairo, 1st of March to the 7th of March. Yeah.
Wow. Which team do you have a team you support in the local league, or you can't because now you want to be president?
I support everybody.
You're like me.
That's a political answer.
That's a political answer.
For the longest time, I said I didn't have a KPL side until I was told I am God by birth.
Yes.
Yeah. We're God by birth.
It's not Radull. You are God by birth. Whatever you say, we are God by birth. Just a few comments here, and then and then I want to get into government role in sports and whether they are actually backing us like they should. Xavier Gitao Masharia says, as I always insist, the club is as good as its fan base. And before we blame the club, the federation, etc., we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing? Yes. Amy Odindo says, we are tuned in, Sylvia Kamau. She's a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Obi Eric says, tuned in from Mara Neptune Hotel. Wow, I need a holiday, man. Xavier Gitao says, don't forget sports banter is also a career. Yes, it is. As long as you're highlighting issues. For me, all the banter about Arsenal and all that stuff, it's good stuff. And tonight, yeah, we're going to beat Man United. We know that.
Of course.
But it's not going to put bread on... Yes. But it's not going to put bread on our table. Yeah. So let's also focus on our own sport. I always say there's room for both. Right? Yeah. Freddie Janam, locked, getting you loud and clear, Nyate Jabondo. I don't know his accent, but I'm imagining it's like that. Chris Cheriot, he's following from Kapcherop, Marakwet County. Guys, do you have any questions for Cynthia and Sylvia? If you do, put them in the comments section and we'll get to them. Government. And Sylvia, I know when you were CEO of Kenya Rugby Union, I'm not asking you to air any dirty linen. I don't want to do that. I'm all about progressing sport, but is the government giving as much support from where you stood as the CEO of rugby? Or do you think the government is facing its own challenges? Because when I look at it, I don't even blame the sports ministry, because when you're given, it starts from the budgeting process, and when you're not even given a budget as a sports ministry, how are you supposed to then help the federations underneath you? But I want to hear your own opinions.
Like you said,
experience.
Yes, I've had quite an experience with the government. I'm not the only one, but all federation officials will tell you of days and nights they sit on the corridors waiting, we're laying the PS or the CS on the corridors. I don't think it should be like that. And like you said, they're having their own challenges. Cynthia said that we don't take sports seriously. It's a culture. So when you come from home and you tell your mom, I'm going to for games, she's like, unenda michezo. So even in the government, they still consider our budget inferior to some of those budgets. So you will look at, like, for example, we will have, let's talk about the what is it called? The fund that we had, the sports fund.
The sports fund.
First and foremost, like she said, a lot of these things, money is there. Okay, it might not be enough. Nobody has enough money, but money is there. But do we have the capacity and abilities to manage this? So we had the sports fund. It had a certain amount of money. Do we have the ability to manage it? My honest opinion is I think it was not managed well. When I say it's not managed well, I don't mean it was stolen or whatever it is. But there are, for example, they're like in a month or 2 months, let's say there's a month's activities that are supposed to happen for the national teams in a month. They're like 7 or 8. You'll find that these are not managed well enough in terms of whoever comes first is the one who gets the budget. You know, for example, there should be guidelines, a criteria that you will get this amount of money because of this reason. So Kenya Sevens is going for the world tour. It's 10 tournaments in a year. The Malkia ladies are going to go for their world leagues, whatever's. There are 5 tournaments in a year.
Why do they train with the men's teams?
Then comes the Harambee Stars, the men. They're going to go for 1 event. Then there are the starlets who need 3 events. How are we able to manage that? Do we have the capacity in the ministry to manage that? They started the secretariat to run it, but they still didn't empower them. It still comes back to the CSA's office. I think the CSA's office has a lot to take care of. We need someone who understands this is an event, this is what an event entails, this is how long you prepare for an event. Giving me air tickets 7 days to the event is not preparation for me. Yeah. Harambee Stars will go and everybody, the fans, all of us, we are all up in arms. You guys, you're always getting 240 million, but you come back with zero, results. Like you go and lose. But look at it, we are sportsmen. We start, where do we start from? By the time you're putting a team on the international stage, where does it start? You have to train, you first have to recruit, you have to recruit the players, you have to recruit the coaching team, they have to work out, there's like the off season, the in season, the whatever, you know. So the team is not 7 days to travel. The team is much more than that. So there's no, I think it's the management of the funds. The funds are available. If managed well, they can work. If you look at, for example, like the NOC committee, they try. They've been preparing like for the Olympics for the longest, you know, like a year in advance. Even two sometimes. But again, they're also hindered by the same thing. Funds are not released by the government to them in time. Because we have no ability.
Probably Paul Tergat and his team who've been through this.
They have experience.
It's interesting you say that the preparation, because I remember Malkia Strikers, the last championship they went through in Japan. The minute they qualified a year to the Japan tournament, they called me for a meeting. We sat down and they said, we need to prepare from May. The tournament is in September. How can you guys help us get funds? The government has given us 2 weeks camp to the tournament. And they were saying, people always say Malkia Strikers go to the World Championship to make up the numbers. They never get a win, they never whatever.
It's because we don't understand the preparation.
It's because they don't prepare.
Process, And they have no choice because they have no resources to prepare.
Because you're against teams that are preparing, the Cameroons of this world.
They're that's all they
in
live.
Cuba and Eastern Europe and all this stuff. And then you wonder why. In fact, we were fortunate Malkia Strikers came back with at least a win, you know, from the last World Championship. But they recognized it. But they didn't have the funds for the friendlies. Yet we're here putting demands on them. Heaven forbid they win, we buy them breakfast.
I'm going to get this conversation out of Kenya a little bit and what Nigeria is doing.
Yeah.
Nigeria have moved their sports docket from the Ministry of Culture and Sports and Socials to the Ministry of Commerce.
Really?
Yes. They did that last year. So they've moved from Ministry of Culture. That changes the whole conversation of how sports
it changes the perception.
Yes. And it also inspires public-private participation, which is really critical. One of the reasons why we're having a very difficult conversation with the whole government and sports conversation is because we're always talking about how private sector should be involved in sports. But then when you look at it from the social the construct of where sports is placed in government in Kenya today, where under culture, it becomes a CSR conversation. We need to move that conversation. Yes, CSR in sports is critical. It's there from a community-based conversation. It needs to be there. But we need to move sports to a commerce conversation where investment is what should be driving sport and not just government. And Nigeria have done that. And clearly, I can see in the next maybe 5-10 years a very big difference with how sports is managed in Nigeria. I was just reading their sports policy. I don't know what sports policy we have in Kenya. Do we have one?
Yeah, there is one.
On paper, yes.
On paper, yes, there
we
is.
We have something on paper. What conversation do we have around resources and resourcing of sports within that sports policy? A lot of our sports policy is still very PE, very technical oriented. It doesn't incorporate the money conversation. I don't know why we're afraid of money. Sports is huge money, but we must understand what huge money means, and we must have people who understand that huge money conversation. So I concur with Sai that a lot has to be done around capacity, capability, understanding the process, but also we must understand that public-private engagement is really critical for us to move sports from what we think it is today to what it should be.
Just to draw on your experience, Sylvia, I think you were CEO of Kenya Rugby Union when the government hit hard on betting companies.
Yes.
At the time, if I'm not wrong, SportPesa was committing to Kenya Rugby to the tune of almost 700 million or something over several years.
Yeah, over several years, yeah.
Tell me what happened the day you heard that. It's gone. Because I'm sure you had a 4-year plan and it's gone. And according to this government, but the sports fund will help out.
And that's where we go back to what Cynthia is saying. We do not understand how to handle big money. Again, we do not have the capacity. The sports fund is a great idea. But how is it run? Do we understand, before we set it up, did we understand the structure of it? There's a sports fund secretariat with the CEO and everything. Do they understand sports? Do they have the autonomy to run the fund? That's the other question. Because once the sports fund was implemented, the sporting people, the average sporting person like me and you, immediately thought, well, this sport fund is for us. If we go to the ministry, I walk in there and say hi, in the corridors, justify my needs, I will get the money. But it was not that clear. Did the money actually go back there? Like you said, the government has its own challenges. Do we still look at sports? Okay, that money, like you said, we don't go into the politics and all of it, but that money eventually on the newspapers, we saw that was used here and there other than where it's supposed to be used. So there's a process. You need to submit your budget.
It went to last budget. I think it went to health.
Health,
60%.
It went to
60%
and don't get me wrong, health needs money, but
yes,
I pay very heavy taxes. Heavy taxes.
And precisely, if the government is unable, for example, where the Ministry of Sports and Culture is huge, it has other needs. It has that they think probably can outshine sports, and they think, sports is an investment. You have to be really, like Cynthia said, it's a turnover that takes time. It's not that you invest in a team today and then you get the benefits.
That's the way I always look at sports. It takes 8 years to prepare for a 30-day event.
Yes.
So sports is that.
Yes.
If you don't prepare in the back, consistently prepare. It doesn't matter who you are, you're never going to succeed in sports.
Our government, when it comes to what you're saying about budget, it's like we're what's the word? Denoting holes.
Yes.
Filling up holes. Sorry, I went to Goluo. We're filling up holes instead of strategizing.
Yes,
because
precisely.
It's all well and good to take money from the sports fund to health. I expect my taxes I pay at Radio Africa to go towards health, but hey.
Yes.
But you don't realize that if you empower these sports people, they'll be able to afford healthcare. If there are hundreds of thousands of people who can be employed and employed well
through sports.
Through sport.
Through sports, yes.
And I don't know why we don't see it.
The other I think shortcoming for the government when it comes to sport is that they look at sport as an event.
Yeah.
So right now we're going to the Olympics, 2021 Olympics. There's nothing else Ministry of Sports is thinking about, the Olympics, the Olympics. Sports is not about events. Like Cynthia is saying, sports is not about events. It's a process, you know. For like the other part, they've put the PE and all that into the Ministry of Education. Before I left, that was sometime in 2019, the Ministry of Education reduced the numbers of the players that's supposed to be at the nationals. And they were very absurd numbers. Like, for example, they said a rugby team that they'll allow a rugby team of Kenya, of sevens, when they're playing the sevens event, to have about 10 players. Now, if you talk to a rugby person, a technical person, they'll tell you a rugby team can't be 10 players. And especially these young kids who are playing in high school, they've reduced the 15s. You know, they don't even, you know, reach out. They don't get. They don't have technical people on the board, on boards in their different.
But then it's, why do you have 18 people?
Yes.
Can they, if there are 7 people on the pitch, then 10 are enough, and there's no consultation.
If a school is releasing players, they can't release this number. So let's reduce players like this. Capacity. We have to be capacity within this.
The reason sport is actually an industry.
Yes,
because
it's an industry. Yeah.
First of all, it can employ anyone in any profession.
Yes.
Whether you're a lawyer, a doctor,
Yes.
a
Any
teacher,
profession.
Yes,
they're
we have
marketer.
sports physiotherapists, and
Yeah.
that arm of medicine in the country right now is doing very well.
Yeah.
Sports physiotherapists, they're doing so well.
Called
You know,
strength and conditioning.
strength and condition. We can employ, sports can employ people in different, you know, in different
Spheres.
careers, you know. So we need to look at sports differently. It's the cultural change that needs to come.
Paradigm shift.
Yes.
Sylvia, we need you to be CS for sport. Cynthia, after basketball, we need you.
Well, basketball is what I love. I run a sports consultancy, Carol. So what I do is provide solutions.
What are solutions? Are there solutions?
Yes.
Many solutions.
Solutions are there. I mean, we've been speaking about them the whole afternoon. Yeah.
We just need people who are capable of implementing them.
And you can't. It's sports is team. It's teamwork. Cynthia can't do something on her own. Sylvia can't do something on her own. Carol can't do something on her own. We have to be able to empower the ecosystem. Like you said, I don't have to have played sport, but if I'm a lawyer and I understand law, all I need to do is upgrade to sports law. All I need to do if I'm a journalist is upgrade to sports journalism. All I need to do if I'm a broadcaster is upgrade to sports broadcast, because the dynamics are a little bit different if I'm a marketer and whatnot. But if you have that whole ecosystem coming together, then we'll be able to move. But we can't do it without money. We have to find a way to encourage investment. I've been very lucky to work with brands like FIFA or NBA, or, I mean, when these guys talk about numbers, sometimes you look at them like, are you guys serious? But it's because there's a possibility for that. If you look at our youth, I mean our population, 60%, 70% under 35, under 25, what are they doing? They're spending their time on phones. When you look at what Safaricom makes, it's microtransactions. When you look at, so how do we get our sports to a point where they're watching our local sports the same way guys are watching Caro now, and guys can pay two shillings, 10 shillings, 100 shillings to make sure that they're watching Caro every week. And if you have 1 million people spending 10 shillings to watch Caro, or to watch basketball, or to watch football, or to watch every other day, the turnover is very high. But we're not thinking that way. We want the big money, but we do not want to understand our environment. So this is a very, very, very big opportunity. For me, those are the solutions. How do we work within the construct of what we have, within the environment? How do we use what we have? We're a very technologically advanced society, if you ask me, compared to most of Africa. We have technology, we have young people, we have amazing guys who, you know, can work. I mean, Cara, I've seen your team, incredible. So young guys. So what stops us from doing the same thing with sports? We can do it, but it requires a lot of will, a lot of strategic intent. We need to be patient.
We need to not be greedy. Yes.
Tunataka kukula leo can't work. We have to understand that we're working for today, but we are building for the next generation.
Let me just read two comments here. Kevin Oswere, hey Kevin, you're active. He says, I was to consult Cynthia Mumbo. I I was consult Cynthia Mumbo. Eh?
I was consulting.
Oh, I was consulting Cynthia. Hey, I was consult Cynthia Mumbo, and I'm proud of her. She has a lot to give to the sports industry. Dorcas Samakobe has an interesting question. She says, in their sports career, have you experienced gender-based violence or abuse? How can you advise young women? How can you advise young women who are experiencing gender-based violence in mainstream sport?
So Dorcas is interesting, and I think you should have Dorcas in your show one day. Dorcas is, I believe, the CEO of an organization that supports women's football in the coast. The name escapes me, but they've actually won a Laureus Award, so they're not small.
What are they called?
Yeah, sorry, Dorcas. You know what? I know the name. It just escapes me today.
The day I went to present the kit to Soccer Sisters in Dagoretti,
Yes.
they were playing against them.
Yeah,
in
fantastic.
the Premier League.
So I know
remember
where
their
that
name in a
question's
minute.
coming from. Dorcas and every woman out there, yes, we have faced heavy hitting as women, but we don't care. It's really that simple. Girls, you should not wait to be told that because you're a woman, you can't do anything. There's no difference between you and anybody
Moving
else.
the goalpost.
Moving the goalpost.
Moving
There you
the
go.
goalpost.
They're called
Yes.
moving the goalpost.
Moving the goalpost. You breathe oxygen just like the guys. You're capable just like the guys. I mean, yes, we work in a patriarchal society, but nothing stops you if you're capable. And do not be disrespectful. It doesn't mean that you go there hard hitting and now you're the one who's this and that. No. Just as long as you're good at it, might take you a little bit longer. And for sure, it will take you a little bit longer. I mean, that's just how the system works. But if you're patient and if you're consistent, go out there. If ever anyone comes at you and tries to report it. If anyone tries to do something that is messing you up, report it. If you're not comfortable with reporting it to somebody around you, please come report to me. Find me, Cynthia Mumbo, on Facebook. I will find a way to support that. I know it's not the easiest, and I know we have courage. Sly has courage. She can sit here. I have courage. We work in an environment. You have courage. We work in an environment where we're expected to kind of be calm and, be behind the scenes and whatnot. I say to women, you don't have to ask for permission. Just be yourself. Be your best self. You will fail, and they will try to use your failures against you. You will get hurt. You will do whatnot, but stand firm. As long as you know what you're doing is right, you're not taking away from people what does not belong to you, and you have so much to give it. Do not be afraid.
It's also very tricky though, because it's easy for us to sit and say, don't take any nonsense, whatever. A couple of years ago, there were a lot of stories in the papers about things happening with Harambee starlets and all that stuff, and women are being taken advantage. And I invited them to the studio, and naturally they all denied. They have repeatedly denied. Even former players have vehemently denied that there was ever any such thing. Until I was told, hey, Radull, now you're forcing an issue. So it's a bit, it's sad, because when you're in that position, it's not easy to step up and say, you know what, my coach is abusing me.
Yeah, that's
at
what I'm
that
saying.
particular time.
There are people who can listen.
Unfortunately, what a lot of our players go through is they still want to play.
Yeah.
And because we have the wrong leaders in place, they victimize you. So the minute you speak up and say, I was abused by my coach or anything, you can be guaranteed you're off the team.
Yeah.
And your dream has been to play for the national team. So it's...
If I may weigh in on that, ladies or girls are, and especially when they're a bit younger and trying to get into the sport as active players, like you're saying, they're very vulnerable. And like you said, it's very easy for us to sit down here and say, be strong about it. I have managed young girls, and even where you have evidence, girls will not come up. You're telling her, this and this and this and this shows that you are taken advantage of. And especially girls and ladies who come from underprivileged backgrounds, they will not really want to say it out as it is, because like you said, they probably want to be on the team. The team is going to Olympics. The last Olympics, everyone got 1.4 million, so you keep quiet. What I try and do wherever I am is I try and have mentors. If you have mentors in the team, and a mentor doesn't necessarily mean come from like the traditional way we know mentors, like me, I'm that old, so I'm supposed to get someone like 20 years my senior. No, you can actually get peers who are your mentors.
Teammates.
Yeah. So encourage, Dorcas, encourage the young players you're handling to have someone they can talk to. It is very easy for a player to be able to talk to someone they're comfortable with. If I come and I'm like, for example, the head coach of the team, and I ask one of the ladies, so I hear you have a problem. Of course, she'll say she has no problem because she wants to remain in the team. Encourage the system of mentorship. When you have mentors, they'll be able to express themselves. Then as leaders, because when I sit here, I'm cutting across a couple of positions. As leaders, we must be able to take action. As female leaders, when we are in these positions, let us be able to channel complaints in the correct manner. You know, think about it like this. It could be your daughter next year. It could be your niece. It could be someone you know. So we must be able to channel these things. So as we sit and we go across these federations and we join the different boards of different organizations that are handling sports, as women, we must not forget to champion for that. I'm not saying we pick up placards and go into the boardroom like, I'm a woman, so who's harassing women? No, but if something like that came, if a lady came and told me that I'm being harassed in a certain manner, they're channels. I will direct them towards that channel.
Absolutely.
And allow the legal process or whatever process it is to take its course. Giving direction to such an athlete or any other person is, I think, the best help we can do.
I think it's also letting them know that there are people like us available. Yeah. And if you tell us, it must remain confidential. Unfortunately,
that's the other thing about
Radull
us.
always want to talk. No. If it's confidential, it's confidential.
It's confidential.
And it's such a sensitive matter.
Yeah, it is.
And it's true. There are things people will tell me on WhatsApp and deny it on radio.
Yeah.
You know, and it's understandable because it's not as it's not something that's so easy to talk about. There's a question here. You know, now people just want to win kit. That's all I'm seeing. Hakim Mohammed says people are afraid of change, but Cynthia can take basketball to a whole new level in Kenya. When are the next elections?
4 years.
4! Wow. I thought it was at least 2, like AFC Leopards. AFC Leopards used to have annual elections. Guys, get serious. I think now it's at least 2, every 2 years. Ngesti Dunga Mata says, ask them from Kenya or East Africa's point of view, what is the state of sport? In the whole region, would you know?
Uganda's investment is heavy in sport. If you look at the last 5 years, their basketball, their football, their netball. The netball women went to the World Cup. Their football men have just been bundled out the other day from, I think, Chan, but, you know, really strong in terms of investment. Their basketball men are competing with our men for the AfroBasket, the qualifiers in a couple of weeks. These are teams that never used to beat us. So the investment behind that, even their rugby team, I believe there's quite an investment.
They're doing quite something.
They're doing quite something. Tanzania, I don't know.
Tanzania from a football perspective, and this is based on the conversation I had last week.
Yes.
Last week I had Ngarwa Kamuyu. I don't know if Kamua.
Yeah.
He's a sports lawyer and investment advisor. He was doing a lot of rugby, so you must know him. And he was saying the advantage with Tanzania is they've got that thing of private investment, right? Like when it comes to Simba Football Club, when it comes to Azam, you know, they have these Abramoviches who have come in and invested in the sport, and that seems to be the way club football is going, especially in Europe. Yeah. You're seeing the development of the Man Cities and the Liverpools of this world because of big businessmen from the Far East, from America, the US, from the Middle East, you know. And that's a whole different conversation. We're actually out of time, but I want us to touch on infrastructure simply because of this Africa NBA. Now, Poison Ivy is a friend of mine. She's this DJ in Dallas. She's a good friend of yours. Basketball is her game. She's official DJ for Dallas Mavericks. And she's the one who actually hooked us up with Dirk, who got us tickets for an NBA game. Right. And there's a time before they started this Africa NBA, she put all the flags. This was sometime early last year, I think. She put all the flags of the African countries on her Insta story. And then I wrote there Kenya, ? And then she said, we were let down by our infrastructure.
Yeah.
And she said, now imagine me as Poison Ivy. I'm a Kenyan, I'm an ambassador.
And then she's going to Nini in
for
Rwanda.
Women's, for Africa, NBA. It's called
NBA.
NBA Africa. The
NBA
Basketball
Africa.
Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, Basketball Africa.
She's
League.
an ambassador. She's a Kenyan, and Kenya's not in the tournament.
Well,
When
we
it
don't-
comes to infrastructure, we are jokers, basically.
So I was very thick into the whole of that conversation years ago when the VP of NBA Africa came to Kenya and I took him to our main stadium and he said, "This is it."
Even you, you're brave.
No, I thought
It's what we
because I've not gone anywhere and we did super, but then it looked really good. But after going to South Africa and seeing what they did with, it wasn't even a stadium, it was a venue, and they kitted the whole venue from flooring. They put 10,000 seats in there. I realized, you know what, we have a long way to go. But Rwanda built their stadium in a year. Senegal built their stadium in a year. I'll not get into the politics of things. It might get me into
We
trouble.
renovated Nyayo for 4 years. Was it 4
I
or
know
more?
the story behind Rwanda. The government
Put
gave
seats,
land.
not renovated, put seats.
The government gave land,
By the way.
and only $1 million was put in to put that stadium up. It's 100 million Kenya shillings, but the government gave.
That Rwanda complex.
Yeah, there was a lot of.
We steal more in a day.
Yes, way more. We still 20
Carol,
stadiums in a
We
day.
still
Yeah,
We still
okay, not
tax-
me, but Kenyans,
Yeah,
our
like
government
2 billion,
officials.
they said. So there's I mean with goodwill, guys are willing to send stadium equipment and stuff and whatnot to raise that up. It's there. You can $2 million, $3 million. It's there. You'll be able, if you have land, $3 million. You give me $3 million. I'll get your stadium. I'll get a stadium. I'll get us a stadium. I will. I am committing here to do.
It's so embarrassing.
Yes.
Yes, Sylvia.
my other thought is, I think we've left the role of infrastructure, so to speak, to the government. I think we should have more private investors in infrastructure, sports infrastructure. But again, we need to show the value of these facilities.
Yeah,
We
I'm
need
not
to
going
show
to
the
put,
value
I'm not
of
going
these
to put money in a
facilities.
stadium.
When
if
you
there's
walk
no
around
sport.
like all those places you're seeing, half or 3/4 of that is not government.
Actually, all of it is.
Yeah, it's not government.
Apart from, I think,
But
the Rwanda
our
one, but
understanding
most of it
is the Kenya government has to fix Nyayo for us. Again, I talked about the capacity and abilities to do these things. The bureaucracy around us adopting Nyayo, you saw how it went. In the last, the two people who have tried to take it, so Safaricom and it was the other one, Coca-Cola, Britam, you know, you've seen the bureaucracy that was around it. What came out of it? Nothing. With all those figures and numbers that were
We
mentioned.
lost in terms of value,
Yeah.
heavy.
So I think what the CS should be doing, and she's great at that, is networking. She can actually get us those investors. As the CS, yeah, like what
But so the government should facilitate.
facilitate, yes.
The role of government
She did
in
that
sports is
very well.
policy, delivering policy, and I love exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's bringing people together.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
Sports Connect Africa, that's your job.
Yes.
That's your hope, to bring people together.
That's what I
put
do.
together, and let's not leave it to, and especially like the actual building to them. I mean,
No,
BBI will come up, and then all of a sudden, all of you are
All
not
the money
important. You
has
know.
gone to
So
something else.
what is it called? The partnerships. We need strategic partnerships for us to be able to move some of these things forward.
Yeah.
You know.
What?
And it can't happen with government.
Only. It
Yeah.
needs, it
Government
can't,
is an
it needs us.
enabler.
We have to wrap, unfortunately. I'll let you do your parting shot, but I need to award the kit. And there were a few nominated teams, but I think I'm going to be a dictator. Simply because this guy was runners-up last week, and he has made sure he has rallied the whole of Ongata Rongai. Literally. I think he's put more than 100 comments. Guys, it's not about the most comments, but it does show you're a little bit, you need this kit. But there's so many teams around the world, around the country that need kit. It's sad, it's unfortunate, because my inbox is full, saying we just need a ball, we just need a kit, we just want to play. And it's unfortunate that I only have, right now I have one left. I hope I get new stock for next week. But Jimmy Njaramba and his friends from Rongai have nominated Young Rovers FC to get the kit this week. The question was, how much do you stake and how much do you stand to win on Betika's Sababisha Daily Jackpot? And the answer, of course, is 10 shillings stake, and you stand to win 200,000 shillings. So, Jimmy Njaramba, you nominated Young Rovers FC from Ongata Rongai, and I'll get in touch with you after this show. And you rallied like 2,500 people. Washeke Esther, so many people to nominate the same team. Hopefully we'll get more kit for next week. I'm out of stock now, but I know that Batika is expecting more kit to come. So if that comes, I'll still be giving out kit every Saturday. But before we go, we need to, I need to allow you to give your parting shot, both as a leader in sport and a woman. I want to hear what you have to say.
Right. As a leader in sport, I say we are the change that we have to see. There's nobody who's going to come from out of the world out there to fix Kenyan sport. It's up to us.
It's us.
It's up to us. It's really that simple. But we must build on our capacity and capability. Sports is now professional. What kind of professionals do we need to move our sport forward? As a woman, I tell young women, do not be afraid to stand for leadership. It's not the easiest of things, but I imagine that even for a man, standing for a leader, for being a leader, is a competitive environment. So just go out there and be your best. Be your best.
Know your staff, have the passion, yeah.
Have the passion, and study. Don't assume that you know, and be open to learning. Be open to making mistakes, but learning from your mistakes, and ultimately have women around you who possess the same kind of energy. Don't have women who just want to do so.
I'll introduce you to them. The right energy.
Yeah. Have women around you who empower you, who hold your hand, and you hold their hand, and raise each other up.
Sylvia?
As a leader in sports, I'd like to say leadership is about integrity, professionalism, your strategic thinking, forward thinking. It has nothing to do with being a woman or not. It has nothing to do with gender. So if you feel you have something to offer, put yourself out there. It is about choosing what you have to offer. It's not about whether Sylvia is a woman or not. And like Cynthia says, finally as a woman, also I'd say it's different parts, even for men, are different. All parts, you have to cut through them. If you go on a path that is clear, your chances are you're not doing something new. So go out there, put yourself out there. If it's sports, there's a lot in sports. It's not just the actual playing on the field. That is where you could start if you want to have a passion. Yes, that's the end game. But there's a lot. There's a lot. There are a lot that sports. There are a lot of careers that sports supports. So sports is as good as any other career that is out there. So those girls who are in school and everybody else who wants to join, come up. And Cynthia says we hold each other up and mentor each other, and as we go along, as long as you have the right character. Yeah.
I love you ladies. I love you ladies. Guys,
We love you too.
here,
Thank
3
you
women
so
who've made a
much.
career in sports. And there are many out there,
Yeah.
but there could be many more. And as Sylvia says, it shouldn't even be about men or women. Be the best. Be the best, guys. It's been my pleasure. Sylvia Kamau, she's a head coach, Equity Hawks basketball team, former CEO of Kenya Rugby Union. Cynthia Mumbo, CEO, Sports Connect Africa, and in 4 years' time, chairman of Kenya Basketball Federation.
Amen.
President, sorry.
She's low.
Sorry, Mosia. President. In waiting in 4 years of Kenya. But it's about time we took up these leadership positions. Guys, thank you so much for watching Radull Live. I know we've gone over today, but the conversation was interesting, you know. And thank you for watching. Let's all do our part, guys. Let's not sit back and wait for handouts and stuff. Let's do our part and get our sports industry working. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week on Radull Live.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. That was fun.